friends. It's Mrs. McCoy. Welcome back to another week of library at home. I hope you all are doing awesome. So, if you think back to last week's library lesson, we had that nonfiction book called Farmer Will Allen and the Growing Table. If you haven't seen it yet, you can go back to last week and check it out. It is a nonfiction book, so it's a true story of a real person who started an urban farm where he was able to grow tons and tons of vegetables and fruit and fresh produce for the people in his neighborhood so that they could have their food locally grown, so it could help protect the environment by not requiring big trucks to drive a long distance. It let people have fresh, healthy food that was grown right there in their neighborhood. And that was connected to your STEM lab lesson from last week, which was about starting your own seedlings at home using things like eggshells and egg cartons, compostable materials, and even things like pots and jars to start growing plants right at your own house, no matter how much space you have available. So I was thinking about that book and that lesson. I thought it was really interesting, and it started making me think about little container gardens, little plants in little containers. And that reminded me of a fiction story that we're going to read today. So this one's not a true story, it's made up, but it has a similar theme. It's connected to last week's. It is called Florette, and it is written and illustrated by Anna Walker. This book has particularly beautiful illustrations. So let's read it together. Florette. Our end papers are so cool. All the plants. Title page. When May's family moved to the city, May wanted to bring her garden with her. Her mother said she could make a new garden, but there was no room among the crowded buildings for apple trees and daffodils. Instead of winding paths and leafy hiding spots, all May found was a cranky cat. The sign says, "Keep off the grass." And boxes. Lots of boxes. May missed playing with her friends, listening to the birds in the apple trees, and gathering things for her treasure jar. She longed to chase butterflies in the wavy grass. She drew her own butterflies. How many of you have made chalk art while you've been at home these last couple months? I have. But the rain washed them away. She set up a picnic. You can see she used the moving boxes to draw apple trees. But the apple tree fell over and the daisies went missing. May was tired of those boxes. Down below, people moved like ants winding through the streets. Beyond them, May spied an open space, a space with trees and a swing. When May's mother was ready to go out, May ran downstairs and led the way on a new path. She turned the corner and walked over a bridge, between the buildings, and under lampposts until she came to a park. A park filled with tiny stones and empty chairs. May drew a daisy in the pebbles. She listened to the hum of the city and the rustle of a tiny bird, an apple tree bird. The bird took flight, and May quickly followed, only to see it disappear into a leafy forest. If you can see, the forest is inside a shop, and the name on the window is Florette, little flower. But the forest was closed. May waited and waited. The bird did not come out. May stared at the entrance for a very long time. Then she noticed a small green sprout peeking through a gap. A piece of forest. May walked back around the corner. She hopped over tiny stones and past empty chairs. She weaved through the streets, under lampposts, and back over the bridge. At home, May held her new treasure up to the light. On the windowsill was her jar. A small jar with enough space for a plant to grow. In May's garden. And that is the end of Florette. So she has been able to use that treasure jar and that tiny little sprout to embrace her new neighborhood, to bring people together, to create this beautiful green space where there were no plants before. Kind of like what Farmer Will Allen did in the story from last week. There's a little interesting note at the end. It's just a teeny little bitty paragraph about the author and illustrator, but it caught my attention because it says, Anna Walker writes and illustrates from her studio in Melbourne, Australia. Florette was inspired by a forest in a Paris window that Anna discovered during a family vacation. So, it's a fiction book. It's a made-up story, but there's a one real moment in the author's life that inspired this whole book, and that was a shop like this in Paris that looked like it had a forest inside. It was probably a flower shop or a garden shop, but walking through the outside and looking at the windows, it looked like a little bit of forest in the middle of a very busy city. And that one little moment, one little snapshot in time inspired the author to write this whole book about a little girl moving to a new city and missing her garden and finding a way to bring her garden to life again. Have you ever experienced something in your life, a tiny little moment that could inspire an entire story? Maybe you can write your own story, kind of like Florette, about one little moment that inspires a whole narrative. A lot of authors do it that way. All right, my friends, I hope you enjoyed the story this week. I hope that you have maybe found some time to garden at your house, to make something grow, or if you haven't, just to appreciate the plants and flowers and the beautiful things that we still have all around us. I miss you guys. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next week for more Library at Home. Bye-bye.